Hi, this is Allison Dawrant coming to you from my new stand-up setup in my living room, and in front of me, Kermit the Frog. He has been part of my social media. He makes some appearances both on Instagram, and he's never made an appearance on YouTube. He's in my home studio sort of as my mascot. And when I very first had moved out and bought my own place quite a number of years ago, I inherited the most awesome retro green couch from my parents. Oh, and I actually had like a love seat, but it was made of this green felt material, which is so identifiable with Kermit the Frog. I just find this like too funny. It was a gift because everyone who came over was like, they ended up calling my furniture like, oh, let's hang out on the Kermie couch. And it was just like Kermit the Frog's material. So it just became this thing. And then he became a mascot. And when friends would come over, family, they would visit. And then the next day I would notice that he's been like repositioned. Maybe he looked like he was partying too hard, or he was sleeping, or he'd have props. And it just became this really funny, association, I guess, with the furniture, with Kermit the Frog. And I had to show you because I was doing a picture for social media and had this sweater on him, and it's just too cute to pass up. So my other mascot is Oakley, my beautiful rescue dog, but he I don't like to push him in front of the camera just because he comes in when he wants to. He comes and goes, and so yeah, but he will be featured actually in an upcoming magazine. We just had a photo shoot, Oakley and I, and it's pretty much all about him. And I think I'd shared this, but we're going to be in the publication titled Where Women Create. And it's a lovely magazine, and it's going to be in 2025 spring edition, and it's under a section called Pet Tales. So you'll have to look for Oakley there. And today, excuse me, I wanted to share my new collection that I'm going to be launching next Thursday, probably around noon Mountain Standard Time. And it's 9 mixed media pieces, mostly collage on a base of watercolor paper. They measure 5 by 7 inches, and they come with a 8 by 10 white mat. So I won't get into all the details of that because I have just recorded a couple videos all about the collection and what the collection is all about. It's called the Purposeful Paper collection. And I thought today it would be great just to share my kind of newfound passion for collage. So I just noticed these are all turned around, so just to flip them around, this is just a super quick flip through. If you haven't seen those videos I just recorded of my little works, and a lot of them incorporate hand-painted papers or collage. From this one in particular is from an art magazine, and then again hand-painted papers. I just finished this one last night, so this wasn't going to be part of the collection, but I could not resist. I really loved this one and just decided to create another one. And so I'm going to be increasing my collection from 9 works to 10 works, and also sharing just a little bit about how I like to create these collages. They can just be a lot of fun, very relaxing, and they really suit a lifestyle that, if you have a space, a table where you can put out, if you're someone like me, I have collected so many papers, explorations on paper over time. I have purchased papers from, this is an artist, she's no longer selling these little papers, but Art Me Up Studio. These are dry stick palette papers that I had purchased on her website, and they are such beautiful hand-painted papers. And I noticed she's selling more like magazine cutouts now, but these were really cool. She used a special home recipe of, I forget, it was like a honey, it was like a natural resin, I believe. Where is it on here? I just found it so interesting. beeswax, soy wax, and tree resin, really similar to what encaustic artists have been using for millennia. So those are some of the things she used in her recipe to glue these onto this paper. And I really liked the idea of purchasing this from her, just because it was like, I mean, it's organized, and it was also like a jumping off point for me before I started to do my own handmade papers. So I just wanted to share that. It's kind of cool. And last night, I did use some of those papers in my collage. So this is a larger collage that I've just started on watercolor paper, so 140-pound watercolor paper. I tend to find the weight of the paper, 140 pounds of most brands, can be pretty good for collage, and I've just really enjoyed that for the collage work I've been doing lately as like a base substrate. So you can see this beautiful little fall paper. I had torn off a piece and I used it right here. And this was a really intuitive process, really relaxing. I was practicing watercolor. I may have even done this watercolor painting on video with you all at one point, and for some reason I'd abandoned it, and it just kind of went in my stack of papers from my videos where it was practice. And then I began experimenting with tissue paper and different papers over top. Even some jelly plate work that I've been doing, where you can see there's a botanical in this particular paper. So all different weights of paper, paper bags with my own mark making. I love that. And it was just such a great process that I wanted to share, because if you have a good piece of, paper, ideally 140 pounds, or like a piece of cardboard, or, the back of a cereal box, you have a base for papers, for collage. And these sticks, these glue sticks, are really great just for this type of project where you just want to be able to, not get too messy, have something that you can kind of leave out. I use scissors, but also tearing papers is great. So getting your paper a surface you don't mind getting glue on. If you are like me and you collect paper ephemera, things like maybe old school notes or old journal pages, magazines, you can go to the thrift store and find some really great pages, in old magazines or books that may not otherwise kind of have their purpose. So I just wanted to share that this exercise has just brought me so much joy and relaxation. So I'm just gonna go back to I'm totally sidetracked today, so we'll see how this video goes. But yeah, Art Me Up, she has an Etsy shop, and her name is Marie Rezen. I bought this quite a number of years ago. And again, she doesn't make this exact thing, but it just gives you a cool idea on how to store papers, and maybe a jumping off point for yourself if you have an idea on this as a product. It's just kind of cool. And here, book pages, but she just made it sticky enough that I could, just like put it into place and then see if I liked it, and then actually glue it on. I just love that idea, even though, it's simple, but just what a great concept. And these, just to backtrack. So this Purposeful Paper collection, it originated from a journal, a large piece of a work in progress that I just chose not to finish, and I chose to fold it up in a journal. I believe they're called zine journals. There's different names for them. Concertina, where is it? Zine. But this would be an example of one that I was working on. So you can see this beautiful watercolor craziness on the back. This was an incredibly large piece of paper, probably 3 times the size of what you're seeing on my table now. And I folded it up into a zine. I have cut it up since, but you can just see places where I have painted. I have started doing collage, and it's just awesome because you can take, if you have the supplies out, a journal maybe that you've made from a large old work in progress, or maybe you've purchased a new art journal and you want to dedicate it to collage work. Having that paper base, a glue stick, scissors, and just a little imagination, a little place of relaxation and non-judgment, it's just a really, really great way to explore collage and compositions and experimentation and figuring out what you like. So I have all of these papers that I have collected. And first though, before I kind of get into how I like to work on these, I just thought I'd share with you first my art poetry deck, because I know for some of you if it's not in your budget, you've purchased it maybe and you want to learn more about it. I do like to incorporate this 71 card art poetry deck into my video. And I like this, listen. And for me, this painting is so abstract. I had used watercolor and acrylic inks, and I had dripped it downward, and I really didn't need to do a whole lot because the way that the materials work together, it just became this beautiful, almost like universe that I was looking down on with ocean and sand. And I also kind of saw like the nervous system and reticulated patterns and connections in here. And lately I've been really trying to listen to my emotions and my feelings, and not only express in art, but I think I have trouble expressing emotions as a human. And I'm doing, how do I say, work on myself to really listen to how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling, little bits of anxiety or pressure or stress, or if I feel really good, calm, like what is it about what I'm doing that's making me feel that way? And how can I redirect my energy and really support feeling good in what I've chosen to do? So I'm not sure if I'd mentioned it, but in listening to where I'm at as a creator and an artist, I have opted out of doing the Under 200 art show here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It was gonna be in November, at the end of November, and I was, how do I say? It was a quick decision. I was preparing for it, but I just felt pressure, and that's not why I do art. So I decided that I would not do the show this year and really listen to what I was feeling and hone in on, how do I say? I just have this desire to spend more time with family. And, even though it was manageable last year when I did the show, it was still so much work. And I just, as a personality, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I'm choosing to be a better listener, not just with others, but with myself. And it feels really good. After I'd made the decision not to do the show, I just felt this huge weight lifted off of me. And so just an update for those of you that have been following my journey with my art shows. So my art poetry deck is now back in stock on my website, and it's $60 Canadian plus shipping. And it usually doesn't show, how do you say, if you check out and it doesn't usually say the country's currency, if your currency is in the United States, it won't show that until you look at your credit card or your receipt at checkout. So just know it's Canadian dollars, and it's based on the destination. I have to charge shipping based on what country I'm sending to. So just a little heads up on that. I wanted to share with you, you all know that I really like Cathy Nichols' art. I've taken a lot of her courses, and I'm currently taking one of her memberships, the Joy of Painting membership, which is a monthly art membership. And Cathy lost her not her home studio, but I believe her studio in Asheville was destroyed underwater from the hurricane. So just wanted to say shout out that I'm thinking of her and all of the people and animals that have been going through the devastation from the recent hurricane. And Cathy donates a lot back from what I can see. I don't know her personally, but I think she's doing really great work and trying to help donate back to animal and human causes and support other artists in Asheville. So supporting her is probably a great thing if you love beautiful work. And she has these gorgeous calendars, and she also has these True Colors acrylic paint mixing flashcards. So I can link her website in my description. But they're so beautiful. So on the one side, she's chosen an image that is in line with the color that she is describing how to mix on the back of the card. And I love the size of these. These are a really lovely size. And just this one side of the card sparks a lot of inspiration already. And then when you flip over the cards, again, you can see, how to create melon with cadmium red light plus white. And then she has a hashtag, and also that it's sort of a spring palette color versus this one, which is maroon. She shows the recipe and what, if it's summer, autumn, spring. And yeah, so these are just really, really cool. One kind of neat, intuitive, kind of playful thing to do would be, if you're trying to break that blank page that's staring at in front of you, like so many of us, how we start is just deciding to say, randomly just pick some colors and, using a limited color palette and letting those choices, you close your eyes and you just put down some colors, letting maybe that guide the exploration that you want to do or the painting that you want to create. So these are lovely. I just got these. I have not started using them yet, but I can't wait. So those are the True Colors acrylic paint mixing flashcards for artists. And while I'm on the topic of artist prompts and memberships, I joined this membership. They had a deal on right now for $5 for a trial membership for a month. So I thought I would just take a peek and see how that goes, because I love learning from other artists and creatives and getting inspired. And they have a shop online, and this just came in the mail. So this is an art journal prompt deck, and I just think this is the most wonderful thing. And I've been wanting to do one myself with my own art, and with, even like an all originals prompt deck. I just think that would be a really fun thing to do for myself as, as an artist. So this is 120 prompts, 6 categories, and all the mess, because it's called Get Messy. And there's quite a number of artists that I believe were involved in this. What a great box. And wow, this is jam-packed. So it has a little description booklet. And then the first category is color. And immediately, this is just really amazing inspiration, just pulling a card a day like I would my art poetry deck. This speaks to me, all those little details and those dash marks, and makes me think, how can I incorporate those dash marks into my work? Embroidery, that's a reminder to me that I love embroidering canvases, and I've never done sewing with a machine, but I kind of want to get a sewing machine. So maybe I'll have to look into that and see. I'm not a seamstress at all with fabric. My mom's an incredible sewer, and I wish I could follow sewing directions. I can't seem to get that down, but getting it in art, maybe that will be easier with, well, if anyone has like a little sewing machine that's affordable and good quality that they use for sewing paper, let me know. That would be really great. So there's colors, and then there's the category for mark making. So if you pick from each category, that's a pretty neat idea. They also have a category for what medium. Oh, and I love how they have the artists. So there's Helen Wells, whom I get so much inspiration from. I love her newsletter and her YouTube videos and her classes. She's wonderful. A big inspiration to me. And then, oh, there's journaling prompts, which is great. And then I see there's artist prompts. And I can't recall what I had paid for these cards, but they're really actually a beautiful, beautiful quality. I think they're probably about 350 GSM. That's what it feels like, and really neat box. That would be a lovely gift for the creative in your life. And so I just wanted to share that with you because I might use it on my videos. We'll see how that membership, see where that goes. And then I just will do, let me think. I'm just going to start by doing a quick collage and talk about what you can do if you have that paper in front of you. These are a little bit bigger than 5 by 7, and you can just see I was gluing down papers. This particular piece, I feel like I wouldn't do any more layers, but I would definitely add some paint layers to it and then kind of rediscover it that way. This particular piece, I think I had used deli paper, a very, very thin paper, glued it down, and it had all this texture on it. And again, that's the back of that large painting. And what I would do is I would just grab my glue stick. I have 2 different sizes. So the smaller size is probably great. And I would just decide, I don't know a lot about teaching composition or abstract art, but I've been really great at following my intuition and loving the outcome. And I have heard from, when I took classes, some really good advice that several artists who did large works on canvas would say is try and keep the heaviness of whatever it is at the bottom, almost like an anchor. So when I had done these, I think that's what I was thinking with this black, is the black was almost like this heavier anchor for the bottom of the piece. And I don't do that with everything, but if I'm looking at my piece, sometimes I let that influence my decision. So because there's a bunch of white space up here, instead of having the painting go this way, I love the look of the painting going this way. So you can kind of play around with basically breaking that blank page, gluing something down. So here's another example. I tore this from a magazine and then I glued this white deli paper over top. This one I have not glued anything on yet. And this one I have started. I'm close to finishing these. But just gluing something down. And I find if you're a little bit stuck, what helps is picking out a piece of collage paper, painted paper, magazine paper, about a fairly full size, just to get that base down to break that blank page. So let's just say you are using paper and it's blank, and so you're not just repurposing other works on paper like I was. What I would want you to do is, just gonna look through my stack of papers. Oh my gosh, I have so many. Like a lot of practice papers, thin paper, thick paper. For this, it's really great to find thinner papers. So 90-pound paper or less is good. the thicker the paper, it's just a little bit hard to collage on. And this was a really playful practice piece. But, you know, cleaning off your brushes, that's probably what I was doing, and that's how these came about, is the paper was good quality, but not great enough for me to want to do a full painting and say sell it. And so I was cleaning off the acrylic paint on my brush, and then this has become actually a wonderful large base for what I want to show you. So I would glue most of this as my base onto my the painting that I want to do. So what I'm going to do, instead of using this paper, I'm going to glue it over top of just a paper that I've already been working on in a journal. So this is a little bit bigger than 5 by 7, but this, you can see when I unfold it, this was a super large work. I'm going to just move it where I did a mind map on one side. What a mess. I don't know, I think my son and I were playing around maybe on this. And I made a zine journal. So if you look up how to do a zine journal or create your own journal, that's kind of how this came to be. I'm going to fold it back. And what a great way to reuse a work in progress and also create a base for a new collage painting. So again, you can decide, just think about if you're a little bit stuck and it overwhelms you with the smaller papers, grab a base and maybe paint a solid color on it, or, you know, glue down something that you like. I do like the colors in here. There's some really interesting textures. And so I'm just gonna glue this down. I'm not gonna be too precise. I'm just going to approximate, because you can always trim it down afterwards and clean it up. I am going to take off this perforated edge, and you can see that I've always loved using both sides of the paper. There's an artist, Flora Bowley, that I know she would say that she did the same thing, and when she sold her work on paper, it's like the client got two works of art, one on one side and one on the other. And it's just a great way to practice and not get too attached. And also, if it doesn't work out on one side, you know, or, you know, it gives you choice. Maybe I want to use this. Actually, that is pretty cool. But I'm going to go back to this one because I think my point is, you know, again, turning this over, because I feel like there's more paint down here, lighter up here. I feel like this grounds the abstract painting. And so it's funny though, this really lights me up as well. But this is also teaching me that this glue stick has run out. It's teaching me a little bit about my personality, that I would have had a hard time a while ago letting go of, say, this side, because it's actually really pretty. There's a lot of potential there, but I want you to let go of any rules, just fill the base, the paper. So just start with a piece of paper, get some paint down, or glue on a work in progress that maybe speaks to you. I'm really going to get the sides, the corners. And you could always spritz the back of the paper with water, especially if it's thicker, and it will glue down much easier. And again, I'm not going to be too particular. And I usually keep a wet paper towel just to clean my hands, just to wipe them off, but I am not that organized today. I do have my brayer, which is covered in paint, dry paint, and it just peels off when I feel like it. And so if you don't have a brayer or something to flatten it, you can, you know, use heavy books and come back to it, or you can just, you know, use the warmth of your fist or your hand. I probably ideally would have put water on the back of this just to get it to stick down a bit more, but I'm quite happy with that. The Yoo-Hoo glue is think acid-free, non-toxic. It works quite well for what we're doing today. And again, you wet the back of the paper first and then glue it down. That's great. Okay, so we have that. And then I want you to just grab any works on paper that you don't know how to finish, tissue paper, gift wrap, magazines, anything that speaks to you. And if you're like me, you would have a couple boxes around the house and things that you've collected, and use the things, you know, there's a reason why you kept some of them. Use the ones that are speaking to you. So right now I'm just going to go to my box and see if I can show you. Let me just see if I can, whoops, wrong way. Okay, anyway, there's a lot of like gift papers. It has some really thin tissue paper, deli paper, old sewing patterns, which I love. I might actually have to pull that out and use that today. Butterick sewing patterns, that's awesome. And just kind of like pull out some little pieces. This is just a neat textured piece that was on paper. Pull out some things that speak to you. This was, I believe, from an origami set. And try not to overthink it. So you want to just have smaller, ripped up pieces of paper. And I see right here, I have this paper bag with a little bit of black on it. I really like that. So I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to glue it down somewhere. And I'll just put it right here on the edge. I don't usually work with a lot of blue, but just seeing this origami paper or whatever that is, I'm gonna maybe do, because I feel like this looks like it's going upward, I might do something that's going across. These are going up and down. And just kind of squinting my eyes, and I feel like putting it kind of down low here. Origami paper seems, if that's what this is, it's a really nice thin paper to work with. And so just not overthinking it, but also, you know, also keeping in mind things that I've done in the past that I know I like, or tips from other artists. So again, maybe having some of the heavier patterns or colors at the bottom and keeping the top lighter. Thinking about maybe you want to have an area, a rest place. And but that's sort of like down the line when you want to pull the piece together. So right now, this is just about finding things that maybe you have that you've kept and getting them down on paper. I actually like this blue and the body measurements here. And I was cleaning my brush off, so you can see there's some textured paint. This just kind of popped out, and that would be really pretty in here too. And so maybe I want to put on a big piece and just kind of like get it on here. And if you don't like something about the base that you're working on, so if, for example, if there's an area on here that you love, don't cover it up. But if there's something that you don't really care for, just take a chance and cover it up. So for me, I really like some of that turquoise popping through. So for now, I'm just gonna keep that in my collage, my composition. The other side of this is actually kind of a cool green, but it's not really speaking to me enough to incorporate it. So you're really trying to zero in on, you know, what colors do you love? What papers do you love? Right now, I kind of think this is neat. There's like a bit of transparency. with the tissue paper, so, or sorry, with the sewing pattern. And I think it's really cool how it's like a transparency here, and you can really see what's underneath. So I might actually put that at the top here. You just kind of move it around, trying not to overthink it too much, but just, you know, where is it kind of speaking to you? And for me, it's that corner. And I see that the other side is a little darker with the pattern, so I'm gonna do that. The other thing about using a glue stick and tissue paper, there is a risk of tearing, but if you're careful, you just kind of hold it up as you smooth out the air with your fingers. And if you've made a move that you really like, that you feel like it makes you happy, it lights you up, you want to repeat that possible move. So, you know, because I'm pretty happy with this sewing pattern, oops, you can see I tore some off there, but it just gives it character. I could repeat another piece down below here if I wanted, but I think I'm gonna move on and use something different. I'm working at a stand-up desk today, and I'm feeling like it's okay, but my neck is telling me maybe it's not for the long term. Here I was playing around with what are they called? Those ink pens, kind of an old school ink pen, and really trying to figure out how to use it. And so, you know, maybe just this little bird with the orange is kind of speaking to me. And I can always cover it up with paint if I don't like it after. And it doesn't have to even be facing the right direction, but it is kind of cute. So I can give myself the option of keeping it in here or not. And the beauty of collage is its layers if you want it to be. I think that's the beauty of artwork, is layering, and each piece that you put down kind of holds history. You remember maybe when you created, for instance, these little painted papers, what you were doing at the time, how you felt. And right now, if you are doing collage with me, I think obviously we have very different collages because of the access to papers would be very different. But I encourage you to take videos on, say, jelly plate printing, or there's so many great videos on how to make your own painted papers. Even cleaning your brush, keep those papers. And I get called to bright pops of color, and even though I'm not really thinking too much, I do know there's something called the rule of thirds, where it is good to draw the eye to, you know, if you're to divide your paper into thirds, you kind of want to have an interest point either here or here, here or here. So if I was to put a line here and a line here, here and here, you kind of want to have a little bit of something of interest. So I love the different shades of pink on here, and that is where I got this gorgeous piece of collage. And I don't really care how I tear it. I'm just deciding if I want to put it down here, or yeah, I kind of like it up here by the toned tan color of the sewing pattern paper. So I'm gonna put it right here. And if you're feeling like your collage is coming together and you're starting to really love it, that's great. You can kind of figure out different ways of pulling it together. So for instance, if you are just like super happy with this piece, that's great. You can then do mark making over top. So I just happen to have my black Posca acrylic paint pen handy, and I would probably add back in some of the marks that were along here, almost to make it look like I've incorporated that line from the sewing pattern into the art on the top. And then I know that, again, I'm doing this for relaxation, but if you keep in mind, you're also learning. And if we repeat the same design element somewhere else in the artwork, it can be more appealing to the eye. So I'm going to repeat that dash that's going up and down here, and I'm going to just repeat it maybe across the bottom here. And I'm not going to be too particular. I don't care if the lines are straight. I have a bit of a tremor, and I like it better if it's embracing that Japanese concept of imperfection, wabi-sabi. Sorry, the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi. And I like the dash mark in there. And then, you know, I could always add in more line work somewhere else. But I'm going to just kind of continue on. And if you're finding this particular project, you know, it can be overwhelming if you're new to collage and you're just not sure how to find your groove, where to start. But grabbing just one paper that you love, that you're keeping for some reason, make sure you incorporate that into what you're doing. Use supplies that you love, and don't be afraid to, I suppose, like, use something that you feel you're kind of cherishing. You want to kind of get into that part where you're letting go. And what I want to show you is, I'm just going to let this dry, but I would probably paint over top of this. I might use gouache or acrylic paint. I might add some more collage work. I feel like this, I really like the texture that's on this watercolor paper where I was cleaning off my brush. And I would see actually a very large piece going into this work. Don't be afraid to go big pieces. I'm just gonna tear it off. I do like that fluorescent red in there, and I can always tone it down after. And not being afraid to cover things up. I'm just squinting my eyes to see how I like that. Just trying to decide. Maybe I kind of like that part without the bright. Because if I added this, I'd want to tone down the other bright. I like just one pop of bright color. And that would be covering up a lot of the sewing pattern. Okay, decisions. So I'm just checking in with myself, and I'm feeling calm. I don't feel pressured. I'm just squinting my eyes and seeing what appeals to me. And kind of feel like I don't want to cover up all of that. Maybe just adding that right here in the middle. Yeah, and then I can always go back over with paint and just tone down areas, highlight areas. Again, the beauty of collage, just not overthinking, is you can always cover it up. You can always fold it up. You can always use it as, you know, a gift tag for a gift for a friend. But it's just about not being afraid to let go of maybe papers, artworks that are unfinished, that are on paper that you could reuse, repurpose. Hence the name, my Purposeful Paper collection. Okay, so I'm really starting to like this more. I'm thinking about like winter sweaters and texture and patterns. I don't love it yet, so it's still something I'm working on. But I'm gonna set that aside, and I just want to show you, I think I've showed you these little booklets before, but when I was not ready to make my own collages, you know, I consider these finished works of art for my collection, and I wasn't ready for that up until this past year. And instead, what I would do is I would just fold a piece of paper, and when I found a technique or a piece of paper that I liked, I would put it down on the white background, and then I would try it on the toned brown paper background. Here I had a punch out that punched out gift tags, you know, those paper punches. And anyways, I haven't finished that, but I've worked on both sides. Here I used the punch outs, and I punched out my favorite red and pink. I punched out a stencil from an old painting. I punched out a brown paper bag that I had carved my own stamp and was practicing on. I went to the neighborhood mini library, and I found a book where I was able to pull out some pages with some really neat writing on them. And yeah, just playing with different textures. So it's almost like I've created my own sample, my own inspiration file. That was really easy. I mean, this would be a great thing to do, you know, with kids, is just having a box of papers and just, you know, having them go through and be like, you know, oh, I love this color. I love that combination of the mustard next to this fluorescent red. So, you know, that would be one that I would definitely put in my book. But I know that I like this more on like toned paper. So I would probably find a way to put that on toned paper. And you're teaching yourself to know what you like and what you don't like. So when it comes time to paint or create a collage, you can really hone in on what lights you up, what makes you happy, what has probably worked in the past that you could incorporate. And it's just, it's kind of neat, because the key is just turning off that judgmental part of like, well, this isn't going to be something, what's the point? And this was, again, a piece of paper my son and I were testing pens on and playing around with. I forget what was on the front of this. I think I liked that purple and tore it off here. But this gray toned paper is now a base for me to create a collage over top. So, you know, this excites me because it's a jumping off point, and I do like this over top of the gray background. I'm not sure what time we're at, because when I get messages on my phone, they cover up the times. So I feel like I've been on here a while, and I'm going to leave with pulling a card from my art poetry deck. And hopefully I've inspired you in some way. Oh, I do want to show you a painting that makes me like super happy. And all it is collage and paint. So there's so much texture in this piece. I can't remember if I showed you guys, but it has that toned paper of mark making, that brown toned paper, which I really like. And then you can feel the straight edge of a painted paper in there. I can't even recall what the paper was, but I just kept layering and painting, and I would see flowers. So often that doesn't happen, but I just kind of kept it going. And I used this black and white paper that you can see over here. I also used the same black and white practice page in this painting. I love pairing black and white with bright colors. And yeah, so again, this is just paper, but it started with gluing down just random papers that I liked. This is actually watercolor in here, watercolor paper. and then just painting over top with colors I enjoyed. And if, say, this came out and I really didn't like it, I love parts of it that I could hone in on with my viewfinder, with my, the mats that, if you have a mat at home or if you make a mat like a viewfinder, you might just really love, say, one area. Again, you could cut it up and make it into cards for somebody, just a thoughtful card to say that you're thinking of somebody. So possibilities are endless. If you have any of those punch outs, like those tags, those gift tag punch outs, like I had just showed, using punch outs and punching out maybe your favorite part of the painting, or, using those shapes to collage. So I just feel like the possibilities are endless. But yeah, I just would encourage you. Right now I'm looking for that painting I was working on. Oh my gosh, it's in here. I also was working on this little one. This was a painting that I just wasn't enjoying, and I cut it up and I glued it on top of this watercolor paper. And I really liked adding the addition of this red standout flowers. So this is still a work in progress. I would probably want to add maybe some kind of black and white to it. This again was just playing around with drawing, and I think when I was taking Flora Bowley's fresh paint class, this may have been one of my practice papers, because I can see almost some of the flowers that she maybe was teaching, but it was just a sketchbook for me at the time. And now, oh yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, Flora Bowley inspiration, that's so funny. So something about her work, I was borrowing mark making and trying to make it my own, and now I'm going back to this. I added black paint, and I think I had used a roller, like put black paint down and used my brayer. Now this is like perfect for adding really interesting texture and line work into collage. So I just feel like that would be pretty cool somehow in here. And am I willing to get rid of the pink flowers? And if I am, I can always add them back in, if later I felt like it just wasn't a fit. But I feel like that's just kind of neat. So the key is to kind of turn off your mind, turn off your judgment, and just pick things that make you happy. So last night, I don't usually use a lot of red in my work, but I was just picking reds and colors that kind of I felt looked nice next to this watercolor background I had. And I can't wait to add paint to this and just pull it together, almost like this painting here. So yeah, I really hope this video has inspired you. If anything, just to grab a piece of paper, grab some smaller papers, get a glue stick, and just fill it up with things that seem to be making you happy in the moment. And if you can keep turning off that judgment, actually, I'm just seeing that this would be so nice in here. If you can keep turning off the judgment that we all have, okay, now I have to put this down. You can really hone in on your own authentic style coming through. You can express yourself. You can listen to that voice and kind of find confidence in your work, and just knowing that you may not really like what you're doing until the final piece, and that's okay. And you may not ever like what you had done, but that's okay, because it was about the journey of discovering whether or not you actually want to continue, say, doing collage or painting. And maybe you realize that you're too critical of yourself and it's holding you back. For me, I was like, okay, I have all these painted papers. Why am I not finishing them? And I realized that was an issue in itself that I needed to address. But in the meantime, this is making me really happy, is finding something new, repurposing it through an old work, painted papers that hold all this history. And right now I just love that piece. It just kind of came to me because I didn't care about gluing it over top of something. I didn't mind that I was using it in the art. It's just very freeing. So let's just pick one more art poetry card. Try not to get glue on it. And this is very helpful for me today. Let go of what is not serving you. So there's lots of things that I feel are not serving me at this time, and I need to, evaluate that and really zero in on how I'm feeling and what direction I want to take. So I'll, oh, and did you see she's wearing a necklace that says let go? So I'm going to leave you with that card and just say thank you so much for being here with me, and I really appreciate you all, and hope everybody is doing really well and finding calm and contentment through creating.